Hope you had a Merry Christmas, and now we're halfway through the season, so I thought I'd do a quick review, or a long review, of West Ham's season so far. So you just come back from the Arsenal game. We lost 2-1, although I thought we performed very well. Definitely in the last 10 minutes we were really on top. Arsenal were getting worried, so much so that Wenger, of course, took off Welbeck and Oxlade-Chamberlain and brought on both Callum Chambers and Kieran Gibbs, two defenders. So Arsenal were diving about all over the place. Monreal at the end. Welbeck was doing a bit of it. Sanchez was doing a bit. They were looking at time wasting. They were getting really worried. As far as I'm concerned, they were getting really worried that we were going to beat them. And of course, we ended up losing 2-1 in the end, unfortunately. We probably deserved a draw, maybe even a win. Obviously, we had one goal disallowed by Alex Song. Of course, I saw it at the time, and I haven't seen any replays of the match so far. But I thought it was a magnificent strike, but it was disallowed. Apparently, Sarko was in the way of Szczesny, so he disallowed it. But I haven't seen it since, although Wenger did come out and say that he was surprised that it was disallowed, which does say a lot. And obviously the penalty from where I was, haven't seen this since, but it did look like Cafola had tripped over his own leg. It's also a shame because Winston Reid had gone 100 Premier League matches without conceding a penalty, so it looks like that runs over. And also, we should have had a penalty at the end. Monreal basically went WWE on Morgan Amalfitano, who personally was my man of the match. But we lost 2-1, but we performed really well. I mean, I'm sure if we carry on playing like that against teams lower on the Premier League table, we would really demolish them. So that was pleasing. But anyway, so far this season, the team are playing with a lot more confidence, a lot more fluidity. They're looking like they're having fun. And I think that's due to a combination of the personnel, Allardyce getting his tactics right, and just the crowd getting behind the team more this season. I mean, when we look at personnel, it's not we have squad depth now. So if a player gets injured, we've got players who can then just come in and fill the role easily, which is the problem we had last year. Is Andy Carroll, he came back too late for us, too early for him. Took him a while to get match fitness, and then he got his sending off against Swansea. But now he's come back at just the right time. Been impressed with him. Against Swansea, he was magnificent. Got 2 textbook headers. We've also signed Diafra Sakho, 3.5 million from FC Metz. Personally, I thought he'll be like a nuclear stage level of Modibo Maiga, although he's proven me really wrong. And he's like an Energizer bunny. He always has a bit of energy. He's always looking to get the ball, hassling opponents, getting stuck in. Valencia come in for 12 million as well. Personally, I think he's a bit weak. He needs to bulk up, certainly. But he's like a live wire. He's quick. He adds that pace. His career stagnated slightly, but he's always got that little bit in his locker, so you know he can really pull things out of the bag. And added to that, we've signed an attacking midfielder, Mauro Zarate, like Valencia, a bit of a live wire, can pull things out of the bag like that. Amazing debut against Crystal Palace. Although, like him, I think he does need to bulk up a bit, because especially against Southampton, where we lost 3-1, one of the worst performances I've ever seen, but more on that later. He was getting muscled off the ball, and he hasn't really played as much, but I think when he has been given the opportunity, he really has shone. Him and Carroll linked up really well at Newcastle. I think he's a good player. I hope we keep hold of him. I hope he remains here for many years, Zarate. Hope he ends up having more opportunities than he has done. Then we'll sign Amalfitano. Amalfitano, he just makes it look easy. He can do the silky stuff and he can get really stuck in, as he showed, I think, against Newcastle, where he was absolutely fantastic. Another game where he was arguably one of the best players on the field. He just looked really good. And yeah, he looks like he was a player who wants to play for West Ham. Then, of course, as well, Kiyate, who scored today. He's basically as good as Mohamed Diame thinks he is. And then we signed 2 defensive midfielders. Diego Poyet from Charlton. He's only played a few games and not a lot since the beginning of the season, since we've got reinforcements, but he looks like a bright prospect. 18, he could be at West Ham for a really long time. Really exciting by him as a prospect. And Alex Song, who had his goal disallowed today. He's by far the most technically gifted player in our team. Sometimes he's just on a different wavelength and it makes balls that are too good. But he always looks so calm on the ball, never panics at all, which is absolutely fantastic. I think he's a really good player, one of the most technically gifted players ever to play for this club. Frankly, I think he's up there with the likes of Brooking, Devonshire, Tevez, Canio. And then at the back, Jenkinson and Cresswell, 2 attacking fullbacks. They've looked fantastic. It's the real reason they're providing the crosses for Sacco, Valencia, Cole whenever he plays. Just getting on the end of those. The really key. Think we should sign Jenkinson permanently, as we should sign Song. Make it happen in January, board, if you're watching. And there's been improvements from the other players that's in the team. Downing looks so much better now he's moved into the middle. He showed it in glimpses last season, but now he's doing it on a very consistent basis. He's got back into the England team as well. And Reed is showing the characteristics and the performances which saw him win Hammer of the Year in 2013. We really need to tie him down to a new contract, because I personally think he's the best defender that the club have had since Rio Ferdinand. And Allardyce is getting his tactics right. Last season I criticised him for his substitutions. A couple of times he took off Downing and Jarvis and left Carroll and Cole up front, which just seemed absolutely ridiculous to me. But this season he's got a substitution spot on game after game after game. Prime example being Swansea. He's doing the big man, little man partnership with Carroll and Valencia. It's half time, 1-1. Normally what you would expect is to double up on Carroll. So Carroll who would flick on balls for Valencia. What they did is they doubled up on Valencia. So Carroll won balls, but they went straight to Valencia, who was marked, and he couldn't get rid of his markers. He brought on Sarko at half time. By bringing on Sarko, they couldn't double up on Sarko. They couldn't double up on Carroll. So that opened up a lot more space. Carroll got his second. Sarko got another goal. Brilliant tactical selection. And just the team start playing with more and more confidence this season. The crowd getting really behind the Boleyn has been absolutely rocking at times this year. It really is a joy to see. It's going to be very sad when we play our final game there next season, a move that I'm totally against and always will be. But it's been very, very promising so far this season. And obviously 19 games in, we're 6. I think we're only about 4 or 5 wins off what we got in the whole of last season already, which is absolutely superb. We've lost, out of the games we've lost, we've been unlucky. Arsenal, of course, we were unlucky. Man United, Nolan was clearly onside as far as I'm concerned. I mean, Matter's goal against Liverpool, if that was onside, then Nolan is definitely onside. Tottenham, don't know how we managed to lose that game. We absolutely battered them. Everton again, unlucky, offside in build up to Lukaku's goal. And Osman scores on the counter after some high pressing. Obviously Tompkins did that dive in that match, and as much as I'd love to say he was just, gentlemanly holding back his sneeze, it was obviously, really what happened is Everton were diving all over the place like Arsenal were, going in for some nasty tackles. Especially McCarthy and Amalfitano. And he was obviously getting wound up by that, so I can see why I'd want to do that. But in that situation, he has to stay classy. And to be fair, he has done. He's kept a mature head in the game since then, as is Alex Song. I mean, I gave him a lot of stick for his elbow on Mandzukic, but looks like he's matured and he's a good character. He's been wearing the captain's armband in the absence of Nolan and Noble, and he's really come into a good role there. And obviously Southampton, we lost to Southampton. That was the worst team performance ever. But with all the transition going on, I can kind of let that slide. Then it was Chelsea. We lost to Chelsea. I thought 2-0 to Chelsea. Although that 2-0 at Chelsea, I mean in 2014, Chelsea have hit Man United for 3, Tottenham for 4, Arsenal for 6 at Stamford Bridge. So to lose by 2 goals there really ain't the end of the world. I personally thought we did a lot better in the second half of that game, but losing 2-0 there really isn't a poor result by any means of stretch of the imagination. And also this season, we've come back to behind to beat teams, the most notable being West Brom, Sunderland, Swansea. Sunderland we drew against, but that was 3 in a row. Last season we'd have capitulated and we'd have gone absolutely hammered in those games. Last season we'd have got hammered in the Arsenal game, then come in second half, hit us for about another 3, ended up losing 5-0 or something. But we didn't. We've just dug in there, and we have deserved those wins. Sunderland again got a draw coming back from behind. We have drawn a few games. That draw is Sunderland. Disappointed for that penalty. I don't think the referee could have seen it from where he was. I think he was just guessing, but we just dug in, came back down in, really improved, scores a peach of a strike. So that was very satisfying. The obvious is coming back from 2-0 down against Stoke to get a draw. That game showed we don't only just have style, we have substance to back this up. We've got grit. There was a 2-2 draw at Hull. We should have won that. That was a game that really started this amazing run. We really should have won 3-2 if it wasn't for an insane clearance on the line by Michael Dawson. Honestly, I think that's the best clearance that Dawson's made in his entire career. I don't think he's ever going to be able to beat that. But yeah, and then obviously we've had a few key wins, personified by our attacking football. Liverpool, Man City being the 2 standout victories. Against Liverpool, we did to them what they were doing to teams last year, downing Mark Gerrard out of the game, which was very satisfying. And then the win against Man City, which was satisfying really psychologically, because it showed how far we've come since we lost 6-0 to them in the Capital One Cup. That was a very disappointing period in the club's history for everyone involved. That December-January time where we couldn't buy a win, the performance was absolutely dire, and that Man City win, that was the transformation. That just showed how far we've come. And really, we have come very far. We're playing good football. Everything's looking good. Looking at January transfer window, I don't think we need to sign any new players. Perhaps a new goalkeeper. I mean, Jaskalainen is going to be 40 soon. And we don't really have a third choice. We've got Henry in from Toronto as a 4th choice centre-back. If Reed goes, then I think we should look at bringing someone to replace him. But apart from that, I'm really happy with the squad, the way we're playing. We're 6th going in the new year, only 2 points off a Champions League spot. This is our best season since 85-86 when we finished 3rd. And until the penultimate week of the season, we were still within a chance of winning the title. So yeah, things look promising. We've got West Brom on Thursday, New Year's Day. I'm hoping we can win that game, because if we play like we've been doing this year, that should be a very good performance. That should see a victory, a resounding victory. So yeah, that's basically my review. So have a happy New Year, guys.